Let's talk about Alexander Ullom's film It Ends, which is a movie that I had seen was at South by Southwest a couple of years ago. I wanted to watch this movie, including Hallow Road. I didn't get the chance to because people were pumped for this movie and the line was incredibly long, so I didn't get in. But I finally was able to catch this movie a couple of days ago. The film stars Phinehas, Yoon. You also have Akira Jackson, Noah Toth, as well as Mitchell Cole. This is a movie about a group of friends who go on a road trip and then they end up in a road that never ends and it just continues on and on. A bunch of weird shit happens. There's some very peculiar people out here, and this movie is just gonna take you for a ride literally for like an hour and a half with no end. So let's get into my thoughts and opinions on this. Follow us on our Letterboxd, Instagram, TikTok, all provided here. Check out our ending explained on Camp Miasma if you haven't already, and stay tuned for our It Ends ending explained coming up this weekend. So I will tell you right off the bat, if you are not a fan of psychological films that try to test you and to see what you truly feel deep down, this might not be the film for you. This is not really a horror film per se. It is more of a film of dread. So right off the bat, your expectations for this film should be that this is more of a psychological thriller that's filled with existential dread instead of your typical horror film. So if you're looking for a horror film, this might not be it for you. If you're looking for a horror film that feels a little bit more, I would say, on the existential side of things, you're going to dig this one a lot. I just want to get that out of the way because I've been seeing a lot of negative perception around this film because I think people are making up another film in their head. This is a movie that's not going to give you the answers in a clear-cut way. It is not going to have a resolution that feels complete. It is going to be a movie that makes you think well after the credits roll, and I think that that is when the movie is at its strongest. This movie has some incredible acting as well from its young actors, which I think to me was the highlight of the film. I think Alexander Ullom here has some incredible ideas he's trying to explore. I don't think they get fully realized in my opinion, and it can feel a bit half-baked throughout and a little bit repetitive, but I think by the ending I really dug the film and what it was trying to achieve. This is a movie that asks, what are we doing exactly? Is this making sense? Is this really the only way? And it's a film that asks all of these questions from the main characters, and you see them all deal with it in a different way. Some are able to continue going forward, some want to reach the answers, and that means maybe not really looking at the sides of what's going on. They're just having a narrow vision, right? And I love how all of these characters interact with one another because they all feel so different. They all feel so much like they have been established for a good time in this universe, right? Nobody here feels like they just came out of nowhere or a paper cutout of sorts. Like there's no tropes I think that any of them fall into, and that's very important with a character driven film because most of this movie is just with these characters. There's a lot of dialogue in it, and I think everything else just becomes background. But like I said, I did find myself in the middle of the film feeling like we were just going in a repetitive nature, which probably was the idea of the filmmaker here. They do want you to feel this feeling of like, when is this ever going to end? What is at the end of the road? And you're just there with the main characters also thinking, what exactly did they do to get here? Or what exactly is this place? And I do love when those questions arise. I do like seeing the characters sort of go through these ideas and try to figure out why exactly they're here and sort of try to connect it to their life, which is a human thing to do, right? To try and find answers. You feel like everything's like a puzzle and you're trying to find where all the pieces fit, and maybe they don't really fit anywhere. And I think that that's an interesting idea that Alexander Ullom's getting to here. And I think that for a feature debut that didn't even cost, I believe, like $1 million, it is such a powerful film to showcase. Now, this movie did come out at South by Southwest. It was available also to rent at a point, and now it's in theaters, which I think has just been one of the most interesting releases for a movie. And I can see why a lot of people might be pissed about that, especially if you've watched this already in theaters or if you've watched it at home and you didn't realize that you were watching it at an unscreen unseen. Some people might be a little bit mad about that, and that's where I'm seeing a lot of these bad takes come from, in my opinion, because I think people are treating this movie like something that it was never trying to be. Overall, though, like I said, if you want a good psychological thriller about existential dread and questioning what exactly it is that we are doing, I think this film is very powerful in that nature. It is very character driven, dialogue heavy as well. Some scenes that will cause some nightmares, I feel, and just the way that they are produced and showcase kind of a Lynchian horror vibe they have to them. But other than that, not much of a movie where a typical horror film it would be called. It's more, I feel, of a psychological drama and a movie about friendship. What does it mean to be a good friend? What does it mean to be alive? And I think that's where the movie really excels. So yeah, like I said, not your typical horror film. Don't think it's a horror film, and I think you'll be good. I think that a lot of people came in with the notion that it was, when it isn't. I think all of the actors here are really incredible, especially the main three actors here. I think they do an exceptional job with what they're given, because most of this movie relies on them being able to deliver their lines in a way that makes you feel for them. And I did feel for all of them here. I think that they were all victims of their situation, and you were rooting for them throughout to make it out of the road. And I think that that is where the movie is great, because it creates that tension of not knowing if they are going to get out of this or if they are destined to be doomed and stuck here for eternity. And that makes it such a scary film when you think about it well after the credits rolled, like I did. But like I said, if you're not a fan of those type of movies and you wanted a straight horror film, it's not the movie for you. I would just wait to catch it whenever it's streaming. But if you do want to see this film, I would say check it out in the theater, maybe a matinee price. It's pretty short, about an hour and 29 minutes in comparison to a lot of films, but I still think it's worth seeing, especially if you're a fan of films that will make you question what exactly is happening and have you thinking about it well after those credits roll. I'll talk more about spoilers and the ending this weekend, so stay tuned for that video by hitting the subscribe button. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or Letterboxd, all provided here. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on It Ends, the film from Alex Ullom, which I think this director has a very bright future ahead of them, and I cannot wait to see what else they do in the near future. But as always, that is going to do it for me. Hit the subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss out on that ending explained for this film. But we also have the ending to Camp Miasma already up, so go check it out. And as always, I'll see all of you next time. 50,000 subscribers is the goal. Let's get to it. Stay safe, stay positive.